Well, darling, there's only one God. Darling, there's only.
Welcome to the Dirty Bag Podcast. I'm your host, Cookie, and today I got a special guest on here. You know how you've been waiting to chat with somebody forever, but you don't really be shooting your shot like that. You just kind of watch from afar and you just be like hella entertained. That's me today with Monique, who is the host of Infertility and Me podcast, where I'm up for drinking, can't even talk straight. So we gonna chat about some things today and a topic that's pretty important to women, especially in the Black community, that we don't address enough. But really, how she puts the spin on it, I've never seen anybody do it this way, and I think it just creates such a safe space for women to talk about these things. So, what's going on, Monique?
Hey girl, how are you?
It's Monday and out here it's Sunday and it's Tuesday and life's sometimes, but I've been all
But
right.
you giving joy though, still, despite it all, no matter what's happening in the background, right? We still giving joy. We still giving peace.
You always giving joy and peace.
I try to live by it. I try to live by it because happiness is fleeting. It comes and it goes. But if we have joy, we can get through it. We can get through anything. We can get through anything. So that's been my motto all year and all summer is just keeping the joy alive and keeping it vibrant. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on the show today.
Yes. Not you coming in with a word though. Happiness is fleeting. You might have to
It
sit there
is.
for a second.
Yeah, put it on a post or something. I don't care. Ain't no copyrights over here, okay?
That's real. So tell the people a little bit about the platform and how it came to be.
Yeah, so I started the platform in 2019. November of 2019 is when I launched the podcast. And I just wanted to be what I didn't have when I was going through fertility struggles before I had my son in 2017. And when he was about 2 years old, going on two, that's when I got the idea to do a podcast because I was always a podcast listener. And I feel like when we've been admiring a platform for a while, we eventually go into it if we have something to say. Now, there's no point in going into podcasting and YouTubing if you ain't got shit to say, okay? We just gonna leave it at that. But
We're gonna revisit, just know.
yes, I wanted to be the voice that I didn't have. And so there aren't many Black females, Black men speaking about fertility at the time when I started it. And especially not from the angle of infertility and having that direct medical diagnosis. And so I was like, well, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I felt called to do it and I followed my intuition. I followed the God, spirit, God, whoever you want to call it, Jesus Christ and them. Yeah. And it's been working out fantabulously. So
Come
yeah.
on, Jesus and them.
I usually say God and them. So whatever you believe in, however you see
Right.
things, yeah. I felt called to do it. And that's why I am here, being a voice to the silent sufferers of the world. 1 in 8 people, that's the statistical data in the United States. 1 in 8 people suffer from infertility, male or female.
Mm.
And I just wanted to give people the space to speak and to say what they wanted to say about what they're going through fertility wise. And then also I bring in a couple of experts as well to give science backed and statistical information and data.
And here's what I'm curious about, because like you said, going in the podcast and make sure you got something to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to throw shade, guys, but a lot of y'all just buy microphones and y'all just be rambling.
And
But
then I'll be talking about nothing.
and regurgitated topics. So to do something, to create a platform around something that's personal, did you think about how far do I want to go as far as
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability and just sharing? Like, how did you process this is how far I'm willing to go, or I just want to highlight
Mm-hmm.
stories? Like, how did you figure that out?
Well, the first 3 episodes, first five, I launched with 5 episodes. So I was very intentional about the way I wanted to display the platform and also myself, of course, without disrespecting my man and his feelings if he didn't want me putting our business out there essentially. But at the end of the day, he knew that the eventually he figured that the purpose was much greater than me or him or what we had been through. And
Right.
so I was very intentional about what I wanted to say about fertility issues from the perspective of a Black woman, as well as giving space to people no matter their nationality and race. The fertility space is very Caucasian dominated. And so people of color are just now starting to really come into the space and really seeking community through social media and private community platforms and such. And so I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not religious. So
Same.
I just, again, I had to follow the call. And I'm a Libra sun, if anybody is into spirituality. So we're about fairness and justice. And we are really great mediators. And so I figured I could bring those gifts and talents to the platform and to really truly hold space for people, no matter what path they're on. I have a lot of people come on at LGBTQIA. When I first started, a lot of podcasts weren't having guests that were LGBTQIA and going through fertility treatments and or had diagnoses. And so I was one of the first to really be accepting of that. There's podcasters out there in the space who had the podcast maybe months before me or a year before me, but they weren't going into the more controversial, with quotation marks, aspects of fertility and family building, modern family building. Yeah.
I think that's also, I mean, I hate to do this, but a lot of that also has to do with homophobia and transphobia as
You
well.
know
Some
it.
people are not even trying to acknowledge folks' existence, let alone their unique fertility experiences as well.
Nope. Nope. Unfortunately, it is viewed what's called now as social infertility for people who may not have a partner, a lifelong partner, may not be married, or in the LGBTQIA community. And it's called social infertility because, of course, if you got two men, they can't procreate. You got two women, you can't procreate. You know, it requires the male and female aspect, regardless of sexual orientation and things, right? But I felt like their voices needed to be heard, and especially people who walk away childless after infertility and IVF treatments. I've had women on the show who have had their entire uteruses and female reproductive system had to be taken away because of PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, those sort of things. And so I really just wanted to cater to everyone. And that's just my ultimate goal, but just being there for the silent sufferer. And that encompasses so many different things, so many different types of peoples and situations. And
Right.
unfortunately, there's still a lot of prejudice out there, so that's
Yeah.
a whole different topic though.
Look, I mean, we know how it is in the medical industry. I had talked about early on with my pregnancy when the doctor was trying to tell me that I was
Mm-hmm.
ectopic. Really, it was just early.
Mm-hmm.
She just didn't show up on the ultrasound yet. But
Right,
everything
right.
that you don't want to hear early in a pregnancy, like there's a fibroid near my cervix, my high blood pressure, I had to have a biopsy. Like they don't look out
Yeah.
for us anyway. So when it comes to infertility, that's a whole different beast. And I think there's a lot of women who suffer from it, just who just went and got that official diagnosis. Do you ever deal
Mm-hmm.
with that in your social circle where you have enough knowledge that when somebody's telling you something, you can kind of like, how do you deal with that when you can tell somebody probably needs to go ahead and just get that checked out because it might be a thing?
Yeah. A good friend in any relationship, intimate wise or friendship wise, is going to ask you questions and they're going to be truly curious about your situation. And so that's how I approach people, whether I know you really well or I just met you. I just ask the questions. And if it sounds like something that I've heard before, because I have talked to so many people and medical specialists, then I'll say, have you had this checked? Or I'll suggest this or this or that. And that just not doing it unsolicited. But if
Right.
they're sharing with me, then I'm going to assume that they're looking for maybe a little bit of insight. And so I'll just ask questions. Have you had this checked? Have you had that checked? I had a friend a year ago tell me that she had excruciating painful periods. And so I said, sis, you got fibroids or you have endometriosis or something like that? And I was correct because of the symptoms that she was telling me about. And so I try to be of support, and I also give people a space whether they want to share. So I'm not going to force it out. I'm not your therapist. I'm not here to do that. Although I probably should be. But yeah, just giving people the space to talk, and then they'll share with you what they want to share. And that's always been successful for me in the last 3 years since I've had the platform. Is just being a listening ear. You're always better off listening than just projecting and spewing things out that you have no goddamn idea about. Yeah.
Okay. And this is where I really was like, okay, now I got to talk to Monique. And I mentioned to you that I was on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook the other day and this post went viral. This girl didn't mean for it. You can tell that it was intended for a specific target, but she made a comment
Mm-hmm.
about women acting like they're so responsible and turning their nose up at women that do have children. But the truth is, you can't have any. It was in poor taste. It was very trash, very disrespectful. But you can tell that somebody that didn't have kids had been throwing shots, and maybe she knew a little bit about the situation or she suspected. And it was so nasty because you had women on this end like, yo, that hurt my feelings. I deal with this. And then the other women saying, well, don't be mad because you're baby mama. And then the third party hopping in like,
Just
first of all,
everything.
you got broken pussy. Like it was a lot.
It
And I'm
can
like,
go left
okay.
quick.
Right. I'm like, so there's two different sides to this. We got to be sensitive to the issue. But when you brought up projecting, how do you deal with knowing that somebody might more than likely have fertility issues? They know they have fertility issues, but as opposed to dealing with it, you lash out a little bit and you try to overcompensate by saying, I don't have to worry about kids. I'm kids free. Fuck these kids.
Yeah. It's hard, and it's situational. It's situational.
Yeah.
And for the most part, when things like that happen, I just stay the F out of it, especially because they're not talking about me. Okay. First of all, you're not talking about me. Second of all, you just show that you have no class. You know what I mean? And then thirdly, mind your own goddamn womb. You know what I mean? Like I've done posts and doing funny, humorous things where I'm texting and I'm like, Auntie calling me about when I'm having kids, but you need to be worried about your husband's scrotum and penis and where he's putting it and sticking it, and if his prostate is in good health. Okay, so don't you know what I mean? So those are like just everybody mind their own reproductive system. Okay, unless you willingly giving out the information about what you're going through, and when somebody does give out the information, still don't project. Just listen.
Right.
It's all about listening, and we don't want to do that. And in certain communities, it's even harder because we are close to certain people and they just feel like they're fully invested in our lives and can say anything when they're not thinking about, well, how is this going to make her feel, and being intentional about the things we say. And honestly, it's hard. It's hard dealing with regular everyday stuff. So to add infertility and fertility struggles on top of that thing, you just want to be you just want to go into a hole and stay there.
Yeah, but you put a little twist on it. You literally turn this into comedic content. How?
Yeah.
Because I'll be laughing so hard sometimes. I'm like, I feel like I should be laughing at this.
No, you should.
But like, it's really funny. I'm not sure what to do with this because I think it's funny as hell. But
yeah. That's why I make it. That's why I make it, because for those who don't know about fertility struggles, and then getting that perspective of what people go through, and then also for the community who's living it. And so I had no idea that it was going to turn into that. I mean, a year and a half after I started the platform, Instagram so graciously gave us reels. And so I just started making reels, and then I was one of the first people in the fertility space who was doing comedic reels. Now, there is another lady on Instagram who has always had a comedic spin on the issues of fertility. And she does make reels now and stuff like that. She has a much, much larger platform than I does, but she's not a podcaster. And so I see more comedic value coming out in the community. Like other women in the community are doing comedic things or sarcastic comedic things in the community. And I love to see it because it just lets me know that really laughing is the heart of the soul, and we need it when we're going through this kind of stuff. We gotta laugh about it to keep from crying sometimes. And so again, it's really, when I make the content, it's not for me, although it does affect me. It's not initially for me. I'm thinking of the people.
You definitely do. I'm like, I guess she just sits down and writes this out, because
I don't write nothing out. It's very artistic for me. It's very artistic for me. And a lot of people don't view content creation like that, or podcasting, but it's a very creative space.
It is.
It's a very creative space.
I was only audio last year. So when the reels first came, like I just started doing visuals this past March.
I feel like you've been doing visuals longer than that, though.
I've been doing it. That's how I came into the podcast space. I used to just be on live on Facebook because I
remember that. Yeah.
And I would sit in my car for hours at work, and I would be bored, and I would have something on my mind, so I would just go live. And then it went from that to, once they added stories on Instagram, I would just do a bunch of stories. So really, I never wanted to be a podcaster because I think podcasters get on my damn nerves. I'm sorry. I get extremely annoyed in this space because I didn't think it would be like as cliquish and messy as it is. I'm like,
girl,
we giving opinions. Like, how you, it's a microphone. You're supposed to be serving your community. Like, what is this? So it's been a very strange journey because I'll be coming up on 2 years in November. But I just kind of, when you
But
start
your platform has been around much longer than that, though, because I think you was one of the first podcasters that I followed.
Well, it was a whole lot more with me. Like I started November 2020, but it was a whole gang of them because the minute you create a podcast page, you start getting added to these groups and podcasters start following you. But it's typically not the support necessarily. They just watching and they seeing if you're gonna support their shit. Like it's just fit. But I noticed that like with me, I like the comedic content. I love it. I don't see a whole lot of podcasters doing it. But I do it now as well because I'm like, I don't think you can just link in the bio niggas to death. Don't nobody just want you asking to go click in the bio. We don't want just snippets of your episode. Give me a reason to want to even click the. And a lot of people don't like to give them. They want to. It's escapism, which I love it. I love talking about celebrity shit sometimes because I think it's relevant. But I tie it into my own life.
Yeah, so, if I had more time, I would have a second podcast. And I actually did. When I took a break from the infertility space, I was hosting and producing with some ladies that I went to high school with. They hit me up in my DMs on Facebook, and it's called Black Women Heal. We don't produce any more episodes, unfortunately, right now, but it was on its way. It was big. I mean, the downloads were downloading, baby. It was big. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out, but the episodes are still available on all platforms. It's called Black. And I mean, we had a ball, but we also came with real wisdom, real insight, real life experience.
That's it.
And I would come in, me being a researcher, I come in with the statistical data. The ladies used to always clown me about it, but I used to come in with statistical data, articles, historical facts and stuff like that, link it in the show details and stuff. But I think we all need safe spaces, but you have to be intentional about your safe space, whatever it is. That's how you become successful in podcasting or any medium. It's where you are the host and you are leading the conversation, because that's what it is. When you're a podcaster, you're a leader. People are listening to you in their ear. That is very intimate. Okay. You can't just be out here saying anything. You can't. Be intentional about what it is you're saying and the ideas and ideologies that you're spewing into people without giving any context to where that stuff came from. Like, it's okay to get on Google, do the research, get on the NIH website, get into some of this, like how Kevin Samuels used to do. He used to come with statistical data and facts. Like, do a little bit of all that. Show your intelligence, show your let your hair down side, but then also come with some real facts too, and have a good time doing it. And I would love to be able to do it again if I had the time to create a whole new platform with, a couple of other women. But I just know, and I don't really have that many people, it's friends and stuff like that to do that kind of stuff with, you know what I mean? So
none of my
other than the friendship, they are not your target audience.
Right.
But I will say that people who really, really, really love you in a different kind of way. And I'll say it more like a sisterhood.
They
do that love you like a sisterhood. They will be the ones who will show up for you regardless of what you're talking about on your platform. There's friends that I have that I've met online, and they have been there for me more than people that I have known for 20 years.
I'm gonna just give a shout out.
I FaceTime them. I've gone to their house traveling this summer, and I've met them in person.
Yeah.
And friends, unlike intimate relationships, friends can be fans too. They can inspire you. They can be your muse. All of those things. And so in the Black community, which we have a real issue with, is being there for one another, supporting, and knowing that whatever your friend is doing is not going to dim your light.
Okay? Whatever your friend is doing is not going to dim your light. But I mean, I had two that literally like came out.
Building community in general for anybody, because community is the way to go now. It doesn't matter what industry, what field you're in. Like, what I do for a living outside of this is entirely different. And so it has nothing to do with fertility. I am a realtor, real estate agent in Maryland. Soon to be South Carolina as well. My husband's a real estate investor. He's always done that. And then he's also an engineer. And so what I do is very analytical, very people oriented. And so even though fertility space is not those things, it still involves community, building rapport with people and gaining people's trust. Because when you build a platform, when you are wanting to be a leader in a space, people have to trust you. They have to trust what you're saying is not bullshit. Okay. And that, and everybody wants authenticity today, even though a lot of them aren't being authentic,
Baby,
right?
that's a buzzword. That's a buzzword.
Okay,
Can we
that's a
talk
whole
about
different.
it?
Where's the authenticity for me? Because everybody wants it, everybody's portraying it, but they're not actually being it. And so I
Nobody's talking
remember,
about themselves.
mm-mm,
I don't, how
mm-mm,
you authentic and I don't know shit about you?
don't know a damn thing.
I know
Don't even know
surface
your
shit.
name
I
or
know
whatever
surface.
surname you go by. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I was like, girl, please, because I remember when you used to do the lives before you actually started the audio platform. Because when I first started following, I was like, hold on now, she's giving podcaster vibes, but I don't see no
People
audio
would,
links.
and you know
You know
what?
what
I
I'm
think
saying?
I was bougie. I was like, I went to school for mass communication. I was in journalism. So I don't want to be a
Yes.
podcaster because it's so oversaturated and everybody's just talking. I literally only created the podcast because people just kept going, that you doing these stories and stuff is essentially a podcast, right? I just, because of
Yeah.
what I saw in the space. And I was like, but you know
It
what?
turns you off, right?
I'm older. I'm a grown
Mm-hmm.
woman. I'm a single mother. I've been through a lot. I've typically been the only Black girl in predominantly white, male dominated
Yeah,
corporate
marketing is very
spaces.
white.
I've
Yeah.
lived in
Yeah.
sales. I mean, I've been in sales forever. So, and I've had some pretty rough, I come from a rough part of St. Louis. So, not many
Okay.
people speak through the lens of where I come from. There are some others in the podcast where if they don't talk about it,
Yeah.
I see a lot of people not talking about things. And I realize like when people would respond to my stories, I'm like, y'all clearly need me to say some stuff that y'all afraid to say.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
fine. I'll do that for you because somebody got to. So for me, when I listen to people, and I've done a few guest spots, and my homegirl was like, girl, what the fuck was that? Like, why did you go on?
Mm.
Like, because it
But you
goes
got to
back to
learn
you
though, right?
saying people have
Yeah.
to know, you got to, like you said,
You.
have a voice. If you're going to have a podcast, please have
Mm-hmm.
a voice. Don't just come on here. We
Please
finna
have
talk
a
about
voice.
how it's piss in the dating pool every single day for 25 episodes. I'm not telling nobody what to do, but tell me about the piss in your dating pool. What
Right. And for
happened to
your podcast,
you?
what really stood out for me was that you called it the dirty bag. And I'm like, the dirty bag. Okay, that's giving me Erica Badu. That's giving me bag lady. You go your
That's the
you know what I'm
video we
saying?
used
And
on
so that
YouTube.
yeah,
We used that
because
song.
they was
Yeah.
giving me very, very, very much neo soul Erica Badu vibes, right? And then you had a great personality to come with it, and you're intelligent,
Appreciate that.
and you work in a white collar space, and so you see things that the rest of us don't see. Because even though
Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur, there's a lot that I don't see because I do not work in an office building. I do not work around, a lot of Caucasians. A lot of people I deal with are people of color and also blue collar white people. You know what I mean?
I
And
can tell
so
you about whiteness,
that's
honey.
neither here nor there. But
No, it's
the
here.
white collar space is very different. It's very, very different. And it's a different, and that's where code switch comes in, right? That's where code switch come from, because Black people getting in these positions like yourself and having to be in predominantly white spaces and still being you, but just a version of you that's different from what you do when you go home, right?
I
And that's
murdered that
okay.
version of me.
We all need to do that.
Looking
Yeah.
back at it, I wish I'd did a lot less code switch early on. Because again, I went to a PWI as well, so my mentors were
Okay.
white women, and there was a white woman that told me
Yeah.
basically that, girl, if you're trying to survive, like I think one day we were talking, and I said, accent. You would have thought
Mm,
I robbed a bank. The way she jumped down my throat and said, don't you ever say that again. Don't you ever say that. And I'm like, what'd I say? She says, those white men will eat you alive. Basically saying they will think
yeah.
you are dumb if you ever say
Yeah.
that. But then I took a history of the English language course and learned that that's part of our dialect. Nothing was wrong with what I said at all. So I was like, girl, you
Mm-hmm.
told me I was wrong
Mm-hmm.
for
It
what
would
I
just
said.
be the
I'm just
way
Black.
like people received you. Yeah.
She,
Yeah.
but
And
again, small
unfortunately,
town. So she was
yeah.
doing what she could to help me. And she definitely got me ready for corporate. I survived because of this white woman, because she told me how to play the game going in, but she didn't
But
tell
we
me
all
how
need
to
an ally.
repaint myself. Yeah, that was the ally that
Yeah.
said, I deal with white men. This is how you got to move. And it helped me. But eventually it was like, I am miserable. I got to
Yeah.
start standing up for myself. Like this is
Mm,
because when you stop playing along to get along, you're gonna be a problem. They're gonna get rid of you, or
mm-hmm.
either make it
But
really
here's the flip
uncomfortable.
side to that. When you are a well-presented person of color in mostly Caucasian spaces, I've heard white men in general, not in general, but white men specifically speak about Black women. And a lot of what they have to say is very positive and respectful.
Yeah.
And they hold us to a standard that they don't unfortunately hold our Black men to, right? And so
Yeah.
and so, yes, we got to do the effing code switch thing. We
Black
got to.
men
It
in
doesn't matter
corporate.
if Black, Latino, North or South Asian, you have to do it
Yeah.
because one, it shows you're intelligent. And I feel like Black people always get offended when they can't use certain vernacular that we do when we're in the space of one another. But at the same time, if you're going to do the work, sometimes you got to play the game and but still being you authentically. And so that's hard being a person of color, trying to find that balance of how much Black stuff you really want to give them, or how much sass and Dominican whatever sass you want to give them.
I give them
It's very, very, very difficult. Me personally, I like to give them a little bit of both. I like to give them a little bit of both. You know what I'm saying? So I've been around some multi-millionaire white men and stuff like that, and they love it because at the end of the day, whatever I'm saying or speaking about, I know what the fuck I'm talking about, first of all. Secondly, and I'm gonna be who I am, and being who you are and being authentic, back to authenticity. Being authentic to who you are is what people are gonna feel, and that's what they're gonna remember.
They feel it as long as they're comfortable with it. As long as it does not impede or on their comfort zone, they're cool with it. If you stick up for yourself too much in these environments, even well-spoken and code switching, you will be reminded real quick, you still nigga. So for me,
just like Jay-Z said,
I entered corporate in 2008. And I spent all the best of that time from, I would say, at least 2019, well, 2017, I want to say, really code switching. But even with me code switching and playing the game, the minute I got into activism and they learned about it, never mind the fact that I was damn good at my job, they saw me as a threat. They saw me as something different because they knew that while I'm well-spoken and articulate, which stop saying that shit to us, first of all, you really just saying we are.
I mean, we know how to speak correct English. We just choose not to.
Well, I mean, our English ain't wrong.
Most Black people,
it ain't wrong. How we talk is not wrong. That's cultural for us. How we talk is not wrong. I think that's the problem is we think it's wrong. It ain't, because you can speak the language, but the minute you are a threat and you assert yourself and you stand up for yourself with these big words, you're a problem. Now, for me, getting around Blackness and coming into spaces where they're Black as Dallas, baby. Dallas is baby Black excellence. It's Black and it's money down here. So a lot of them don't have to worry about that because they create spaces for people that look like us. It's weird to be in that space and be like, oh, I can be me. Oh, but there's so much degrees, but there's so much respectability in politics. I don't even care about that shit no more, honey. The hood is what pushes the culture forward. So at this point, give me a old mom and pop shop, somebody that dropped out of high school, but he's doing his thing in entrepreneurship and he's making it happen, because those are the ones that have that grit, that story behind them, and they didn't have anything. Not saying somebody with a college degree had it handed to them, but they made it work without what we were told we had to have to make it work. College ain't for everybody.
No, it's not.
Some people,
but you know, us 70s and 80s babies and early 90s babies, they pushed college on us. They pushed it on us because it was a new way of the hierarchy being able to make money off of us.
You're absolutely right. And there's some 360 student loans.
And now they're pushing going back into trades because they see that they push college on us so much. We feel like we are above trades. We don't want to do it.
If you ain't got a degree, you ain't, or if you didn't go to,
you ain't shit if you ain't got a degree.
If you didn't go to Howard, or you didn't go to Spelman, or
Georgetown and all that stuff,
we're changing. Like every time you turn around, we're having to rethink what Black excellence looks like, and to me, it's making it.
But that's why I love to say that. I just lost it. Shit, I've been fucking drinking Ciroc, you guys. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you.
And I gotta do say, baby, we sipping. Don't think for one. Don't think we ain't.
But like you said, like college isn't for everyone. Getting degrees and going to Harvard and all those places is not for everyone. And we have to do what feels right to our soul. Ooh, and so if we're talking and if we are listening to that inner still small voice from the creator, from the universe, God, and then whoever you want to call it, your reasons, whoever. Okay. Let's go. When you follow that path, no matter how arduous it is to get to the success, you are right where the fuck you need to be, okay? For that time and that space and that period. And know that more than anything, because never in my thousands of years of reincarnating and coming back did I think that I would be on a platform that I created with my bare two hands and my voice talking about my damn vagina and what my uterus could or could not do, okay?
When you say it, like,
y'all can laugh. It's okay. Y'all can laugh. It's fine. Yeah. Never in 1,000 years. Okay. Neither did my man. And my man is South Asian. I'm in a biracial relationship. My man is South Asian. He's from Bangladesh. And they're very, very private people, just like Black people. don't talk about this shit. Like, you talk about it with people that you let your hair down with. But he was like, I've known some people in the South Asian community and white community who have been through it. They've had money, they've been poor, they've been whoever. But it's not something that we do on a public platform. So that's why I was saying earlier, like, he wasn't with it at first, because he's like, why are you putting our business out there? And he wasn't even the one with the diagnosis. I was. I
Like,
was the
baby,
one
I'm
who
the one.
fucking put, I was the one. What is you mad about?
Sure.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, be intentional about it. And so, to segue into the next phase of branding and all that kind of a thing, and being noticed in a very Caucasian and white space, which is how this part of the situation, this conversation started, was how do you get noticed as a content creator, whether it's a social political issue that you're talking about, or you're like Danielle Moody from Woke as Fuck podcast talking about political issues in the mainstream media. How do you become noticed as a brown girl when brown girls have, in the history of these United States, have been put on the back burner to our white Caucasian counterpart sisters? Okay, but they're minorities too, because they're a woman, but they forget that part. But they have also have privilege.
Right.
But anyway, so here we are. So it's 2019, the fall, and I'm thinking about brain colors. Again, I'm very spiritual. So I'm like, okay, well, I feel like at this point in time in that summer, I had been seeing a lot of blue. I had been wearing a lot of blue, and I had been feeling very blue. I had blue painted in the walls of my house at that time, and I had a blue couch upstairs and down. So I'm like, it's blue. Oh shit, it's the throat chakra. It's the source of communication spiritually. When you're thinking about your chakras, red is for your y'all, I told y'all I've been drinking some rocks, so I'm gonna forget some stuff. But the red is your chakra that starts from your reproductive organs on up. And then when you get to the throat, it's blue. It's representative of communication, speaking your truth, and coming across and being authentic to who you are. And so this is not only just me growing as a content creating and coming into content creation, it's me growing as a woman. Because for 4.5 years before I got pregnant with my son, I stayed silent about my infertility. I stayed silent about the fact that I couldn't give my man this gift that he wanted. And so now was the time. And I just really embraced it and fully accepted that now was the time to use my voice of reason as a sun in Libra and bring hope, bring inspiration, be a voice, and to give space to people to speak their truth authentically. But first I had to do it. First I had to work through it. First I had to heal.
You just said first you had to go through it. You had to heal. So last year I did an episode, and to this day it was the hardest thing I ever did. I don't know how I did that. I did a 2-part series on the 4th trimester. Okay. And going through postpartum. And I had birth workers on. I didn't realize that there were some things that I still hadn't worked through from having my second child, from having my daughter. Again, at that time, she was just barely 1. Okay. So I did this damn episode. And as these women are sharing their stories, and these are women that are not single mothers, that have partners, that had communities around them, and they were still battling depression. And one even went on to say it ended her marriage. And when I tell you, I went to the darkest place after these 2 episodes, because I realized I hadn't healed from some stuff and I was still in the throes of it. I just thought it would be a good episode for other folks, but apparently I needed it for myself. But it was so tough for me afterwards. So when you talk about intentionality, I think that having again, a lot of y'all see these podcasts as it's Kevin Samuels, these dudes attacking women, and that's pretty much the face of it now. And I hate that. Even though that's what it was. Amen.
Because they're not bringing any real value. Okay, you pointing out the issue, but what's the fucking solution, sir?
And who are you to speak on it? Who are you to speak on it? Like, what is your, what can you add with your own testimony? People ain't adding testimonies, they just finger pointing. Yep. But you gotta heal on what you're talking about. And a lot of folks hurt come through because they're not being transparent about their stories on their topic matters.
Nope. You have to be, whether it's with yourself in a dark room or in a room or on a platform with hundreds of thousands of people, whatever it is, you cannot. And see, here's the thing. I have no problem with podcasts that are life experience based, but give me that life experience. Don't leave me hanging. Don't tell me what it is you think I need to do without you telling me how I got through it.
No, and I think that's it too. Like, how are you going to talk about something that you don't want to talk about?
You don't even want to talk about it for real, because you don't want to give us your life examples. No successful podcast is without life examples. It's not. Because if you're not
Say
a
it
therapist
again.
or a psychiatrist, really, we're not qualified to be talking about none of this stuff. Okay. Really, we're not. So if you don't have that, at least give me the experience you went through that got you through this thing. And so and like you said, there were things that came up during episode recordings with guests that I realized that I hadn't worked through as much as I thought I had.
It was so rough. It was
It'll
it was like
it'll
really
it'll
rough.
really bring some things out of it if you really hear for the people that you're serving through the platform.
Because there were tears. This is why I say I kind of missed the whole audio. Because like there was one girl that was taking down her box braids lighting a blunt once. It was four of us one
Mm-hmm.
day, and I mean somebody
It
was
was
drunk.
probably a fabulous conversation though.
The best conversation started after we stopped recording.
Mm-hmm.
When I hit that stop
Mm-hmm.
button, we wasn't done because at this point we vibing, and folks just started
Right.
sharing, and it turned into church damn near. And I mean, people gonna be like, y'all smoking, people smoking weed, you had edibles. It turned into church because it was four Black
Mm-hmm.
women sharing their experiences about not having boundaries, desiring
Mm-hmm.
love, understanding being in a career that you hate. Like there were stories being, and I said this wasn't for the audience. This
There's
was
so
for
much there. Yeah. See, when you have a platform, it's really for you until you come into a place of healing from certain aspects. Well, like healing is a lifetime journey,
it is
right?
not a destination. It's
It is
definitely a
not a
journey.
freaking destination, okay? It's a journey. It's not a
Yeah.
race, it's a marathon. And so yeah, you will get through some things and you will be less triggered by things. But ultimately, a lot of what you do as having a platform is for you too. It's not just for your audience because what you went through is what inspired you to create it in the first place.
Yeah. And
And
I
so that's why I
learned,
always say that I do it for
yeah.
the silent sufferers because I silently suffered for 4.5 years.
And
I
that's a
didn't tell anyone.
long time. I think and
That
there's
is
so
a
many women like
long effing
you
time.
that won't just because
So many.
but I think that when you don't come out and talk about it, it bottles up and you do project. That's why when you had an episode and you had a psychotherapist talking about fertility jealousy. And when I listened
Mm-hmm.
to it, I said, I lost a friend when I had my daughter because I feel like I mean, when you've been out here
She
in the
may have
dating
been
scene,
struggling.
oh yeah, I mean, she
Mm-hmm.
talked about how reckless she'd been. So we know she wasn't using
Mm-hmm.
protection for years and not so much as a pregnancy scare, but she wanted it
Mm-hmm.
so bad. But she had somebody when I first got pregnant. So she was happy for me in the beginning because it looked like she'd found her happy
Mm-hmm.
ending. When that crumbled, when I
Mm-hmm.
tell you her attitude towards me during that pregnancy changed and a little shot she would take till one day she said something on social media and didn't realize I saw it. This was somebody
Mm-hmm.
that was supposed to be planning one of my baby showers. I
Wow.
eventually said what I had to say to her and I backed off because but listening to you talk, I'm like, damn, we probably should have had a different conversation. But to me, when I see that, I just
Mm-hmm.
cut you the fuck off. That is my problem. That is
Yeah.
my issue. I do have to work through that. But at that time, it was like, you mad at me because I'm pregnant. First of all, I wasn't even trying to get pregnant. I was trying to be outside. You know this. I was trying to put
Yes.
stamps on my passport. I wanted a
But here's
daughter.
the thing
I
too.
made peace with the fact that I wasn't gonna never have one. But here we go.
But here's the flip side. And the gag is that we as Black women, we will talk about everything and anything other than our reproductive organs and what's happening to us. Because this young woman that I told you guys about a few minutes ago, who she was telling me her symptoms when she's going through her menses every month, all the years I've known her, even though we weren't at the time very technically close like we are now, we just always were really good acquaintances. Like it was always love between us, right, over the years. But because I feel like the Black community and other people of color communities, we talk about everything else, but we don't talk about some of the things that we're really, really struggling with. And if she
Because
had
that
shared
requires
with you
transparency.
exactly, and so if she said, friend, you ask her how she doing one day, friend, I ain't doing so good because I've been trying to find a life partner so I can build my family, and it's not happening for me. You understand what I'm saying? How that could have just really flipped and reversed y'all's situation and it didn't have to end the way it did. But we always want to talk about other things, how many degrees we got, how many pairs of shoes we got, or
Right.
if we bought some Gucci shit or some Michael Kors shit, or who was what doing what on Real Housewives and all that stuff. When really
Escapism
we
and
need to
all
be
of that.
calling each other and be like, sis, I need somebody to go to the doctor with me because I need a voice of reason because I'm in my feels right now and I don't know if I'm going to hear this doctor right. And I need to know that somebody's in my corner. And so I advocate a lot for having doctor buddies and taking your friends with
Oh,
you. you're not in a relationship and you're by yourself, taking a doctor buddy with you when you go to these doctor's appointments, because somebody else is going to be able to look at the situation objectively outside of the doctor,
Right.
because you're going to be in your feelings about your situation, because you know when something's not right with your body.
We all, but we don't want to talk about it. Then when it gets super bad, it's like you don't want to be. You know how many Black women don't need. Y'all got to go get y'all checkups, man.
Get
And
your
if you
vagina checked,
outside,
please.
I'm an advocate for if you're trying to be outside, but be outside responsibly. My first summer in Dallas last year, I turned up. I turned up. It was not of a breakup. I turned up. But let me be clear. When I turned up, I went to where I needed to go to check in and like make sure I was good. Okay. I don't play about her. I mean, sometimes I play about her, but I don't play about her health. So you know what I'm saying? Like, and I told one of my friends, I was like, girl, I've been outside. Let me let me just, because some things even with a condom, let me just go get checked out.
During and after. That's how I used to do it. Before, during, and after.
Let me go get checked out.
Yeah.
But women don't be wanting to talk about that.
But do it scared. Like we always talk about do it scared when we trying to build businesses and go into new industries. No, do it scared when you got to go to the fucking doctor too. Okay,
not you building a business fearlessly, but not going to get a checkup.
You know how many women don't look at their vagina? They don't take a mirror and look at their vagina.
I love looking at her. She's pierced. I love looking at her.
Listen, I've been looking at my vagina since I was like 5. Okay, I need to know what it looks like. I need to know, because everybody gonna lie to me about what my shit look like. You gonna let a man go down there and see what your shit look like, but you don't know what it look like.
You ain't even seen what she look like. We don't. That's crazy. People will boldly leave corporate jobs and leap into, you know, entrepreneurial journeys, but will not get their vagina checked out. Make that make sense.
It don't make sense.
It's like we don't. It's like people don't want to know. They think they're better off not knowing. And y'all know how. Again, the medical industry is not kind to us, so you cannot afford to not do your part. Because you better not be calling me later on talking about we about to start a GoFundMe, girl. Don't play with me. We gonna get these pussies checked out. Like, what you mean?
Immediately.
Because
there's things that can be transferred from a partner to you, and they don't even have to stick their penis in you.
Okay? People don't understand that.
There's stuff that can just jump off of you, just skin to skin contact. Like you was about to let him put the tip in, but you didn't let him put the tip in.
But so still, you got one off.
Contact is contact. And I just want Black women and women of color, because even indigenous women of color in these United States of America were treated the same as Black women. And we just got to do better. And we just got to really check in. Like when you checking in with your sis, check in for real. Just give a damn.
Don't check in to tell what you got going on. Some people be checking in with a motive of wanting to
so they can say what they want to say. Yeah. No. Check in for real. Check in without motive. Really, really check in. We so damn selfish. And if you're not going to check in with me, then just leave me the F alone. If you don't care what's really going on in my life.
I'm cool being left alone if you don't care.
And if somebody's doing better than you, like she's not purposely, intentionally trying to show you up. She's just doing what's right for her life. And so the sum total of her choices just happened to be a little bit better than yours, because she took some choices and made a decision that made her life go this way and your way go that way. She don't love you any less.
Yeah, y'all, but if she's a friend, but if y'all friends, you watch the tears she cried to get to where she is. I think that sometimes we forget the journeys that we just see the result. Well, if you're a friend, you see the result. I know that I'm in a place in my life. I used to be somebody that was a consummate cheerleader. So I didn't go after the things I really wanted. I gassed everybody up and I cheered everybody else on, and I sacrificed and showed up for everybody else. But what was happening in the process is parts of me were dying because I wasn't doing things that fed my spirit. I was trying to make sure everybody else was good. I did that for years. Like we talking me driving whole states away for events. Okay. 6.5 hours, whatever, sit on the phone, letting you dump on me. I'm giving you advice, but you ain't taking it. So it got to a point, I'm not going to lie. I've been selfish this past year. I'm not a selfish person. I like to make sure everybody's good, even at my expense. But I saw how that was also destroying me. And I also saw that when I didn't do that, there was no value in keeping me around. People love me to be the bodyguard. When I say, I've said this on other episodes, the fact that dudes have not swung on me before behind my friends, because you break my girl heart, I'm running up on you, cuz it's on site. Like we're gonna argue.
We're gonna pull up.
But then they will take them back and cut me off or like not listen to me. So after a while, it was like you running yourself into the ground. You've done your part as a friend. That's the thing. You've done your part as a friend a million times over. Start doing something for you, because you can't. Somebody made this comment that good things aren't necessarily happening you because you're too busy being a good thing for everybody else. You ain't saving none for yourself. You're saving none of you for you. So, and they ain't gonna give it to you because they don't have the capacity, but you expect everybody to be like you. And it was very hard for me to learn that everybody's not like me. And I'm like you. You say you were being what you wanted somebody to be for me. So in my friendships, I've been for somebody what I wanted somebody to be for that little girl Cookie. Which, okay, but hold on. You need to be what you wanted somebody to be for that little Cookie. So it's a really hard balance between like, don't be selfish, but you can empty your whole cup. You can empty the clip over here.
Yeah.
With emotional labor.
And I think that when you are someone who's naturally very invested in the people that they connect themselves to, we have a very hard time not putting ourselves and inserting ourselves in their situations and being that garbage bag for them to dump on and stuff, right? Because we genuinely care,
right?
But like you said, when we look back at it, they don't give a fuck about us the way we care for them, and because you know it, because they're not showing up for you. They don't show up for you. You know what I mean? And they're not celebrating your wins with you, and they're not calling and checking on you. And so for the last couple of years, I've been like, look, if they ain't calling and checking on me, bitch, I ain't calling them either.
No. And I realized, like, as far as a marketing thing, like one thing I used to do, because I've been in sales almost 17 years, I naturally sell. I don't think about it, but when I'm in your space, you got an event or you got a product, I don't think about, I'm gonna sell this for you. I just naturally support it. And then after a while, I was like, I'm making people money. And not that I need anything from it, but I notice
paying your consultation fee.
I notice when I'm not making you money, I don't really hear from you. You don't really fuck with me like that. So I worked very hard for this skill, very hard. So I probably need to chill on doing these things for you. But it's just learning what your friendships are and what categories they fall into, so that you can have discernment to govern yourself accordingly.
And that's the key word right there, is discernment.
With everything, with your platforms, please have discernment before y'all buy. Please have discernment before you buy a mic and get a logo and say you bought.
Yeah, please do. Really. Because it's not giving anything. And that's why your downloads is low. Okay? It's not giving. You're not helping the people. You're just talking because you want to talk.
So it did it again. Look, it ain't giving, and it's fine. So we're going to have these conversations a million times over. I want to thank you so much for coming on today, Monique, and chopping it up.
It's been my pleasure.
Yes,
been my absolute pleasure.
Yes, so y'all, I guess the word of the day today is just intentionality. Well, intentionality and transparency.
Yep.
Think about it in everything you do. So y'all know what's going on here in the world. It's a lot. We don't know what it is no more. Monkeypox, COVID. At this point, we don't know, but just do me a favor. Oh, first of all, tell everybody where to find you.
Yeah, Infertility and Me podcast on all the on the platforms. If you are struggling with fertility issues, you can reach me on Instagram and through the platforms, my email. And then if you want to follow my personal journey through life and whatever the fuck I feel like saying, Mrs. Farook _. And that's it, y'all. I appreciate you, Cookie Girl, for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming
on a Monday.
All right, y'all. So here's the deal, y'all. Y'all know what's going on out here. Be kind to each other. Where applicable, wear your mask, wash your hands, socially distance. And when you get a free moment, remember to clean out your dirty bag. Till next time.
Well, darling, there's only one God.